Henry, James, and Gordon were miserable. They had been shut up for several days for being naughty and longed to be let out again. At last the Fat Controller arrived. "I hope you are sorry," he said, "and understand that you are not so important after all. We have a new tank engine called Percy who helps pull coaches, and Thomas and Edward have worked the main line nicely. But I will let you out now if you promise to be good." "Yes, sir," said the three engines, "we will." "That's right, but please remember that this no shunting nonsense must stop." He then told Percy, Edward, and Thomas that they could go and play on the branch line for a few days. And they ran off happily to find Annie and Clarabelle at the junction. The two coaches were so pleased to see Thomas again. Edward and Percy played with trucks. "Stop, stop, stop," screamed the trucks as they were pushed into their proper sidings. But the two engines laughed and went on shunting till the trucks were tidily arranged. Next, Edward took some empty trucks to the quarry. Percy was left alone. He didn't mind that a bit. He liked watching trains and being cheeky to the other engines. "Hurry, hurry, hurry," he would call, and they got very cross. After a great deal of shunting, Percy was waiting for the signalman to set the point so that he could get back to the yard. He was eager to work, but was being rather careless and not paying attention. Edward had warned Percy, "Be careful on the main line. Whistle to the signalman you are there." But Percy didn't remember to whistle, so the busy signalman forgot him. Percy waited and waited. The points were still against him, so he couldn't move. Then he looked along the main line. Peep, peep! He whistled in horror, for rushing straight towards him was Gordon with the express. "Oh!" groaned Gordon. "Get out of my way!" Percy opened his eyes. Gordon had stopped with Percy's buffers a few inches from his own. But Percy had begun to move. "I won't stay here. I'll run away," he puffed. He went straight through Edward's station and was so frightened that he ran right up Gordon's hill without stopping. After that, he was tired, but he couldn't stop. He had no driver to shut off steam and apply the brakes. "I want to stop, I want to stop," he puffed. The man in the signal box saw Percy was in trouble, so kindly set the points. Percy puffed wearily onto a nice empty siding, ending in a big bank of earth. He was too tired now to care where he went. "I want to stop, I want to stop, I have stopped," he puffed thankfully. "Never mind, Percy," said the workman as they dug him out. "You shall have a drink and some coal, and then you'll feel better." Presently, Gordon arrived. "Well done, Percy. You started so quickly that you stopped a nasty accident." "I'm sorry I was cheeky," said Percy. "You were clever to stop." Then Gordon helped pull Percy out from the bank. Percy is still cheeky because he is that sort of engine, but he is always most careful when he goes on the main line. Do you know what? Asked Percy. What? Grunted Gordon. Do you know what? Silly, said Gordon. Of course I don't know what, if you don't tell me what is. The Fat Controller says that the work in the yard is too heavy for me. He's getting a bigger engine to help me. Rubbish, said James. Any engine could do it. If you worked more and chatted less, this yard would be a sweeter, a better, and a happier place. Percy went off to fetch some coaches. That stupid old signal, he thought. He was remembering the time he'd misunderstood a signal and gone backwards instead of forwards. No one listens to me now. They think I'm a silly little engine and order me about. I'll show them, but he didn't know how. By the end of the afternoon, he felt tired and unhappy. He brought some coaches to the station. Hello, Percy, said the Fat Controller. You look tired. Yes, sir, I am, sir. I don't know if I'm standing on my dome or my wheels. You look the right way up to me, laughed the Fat Controller. Cheer up. The new engine is bigger than you and can probably do the work alone. Would you like to help build my new harbour? Thomas and Toby will help. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The new engine arrived. What's your name? Asked the Fat Controller. Montague, sir, but I'm usually called Duck. They say I waddle. I don't really, sir, but I like Duck better than Montague. Good. Duck it shall be. Here, Percy, show Duck round. The two engines went off together. Soon they were very busy. James, Gordon and Henry watched Duck quietly doing his work. He seems a simple sort of engine. We'll have some fun and order him about. Whee! Smoke billowed everywhere. Percy was cross. Duck took no notice. They'll get tired of it soon. Do they tell you to do things, Percy? Yes, they do, answered Percy. Right, said Duck. We'll soon stop that nonsense. He whispered something. We'll do it later. The Fat Controller was looking forward to hot buttered toast for tea at home. Suddenly he heard an extraordinary noise. Whee! Bother, he said, and hurried to the yard. Duck and Percy calmly sat on the points outside the shed, refusing to let the engines in. Gordon, James and Henry were furious. Stop that noise, bellowed the Fat Controller. They won't let us in, hissed Gordon. Duck explained this behaviour. Beg pardon, sir, but I'm a Great Western engine. We do our work without fuss. But begging your pardon, sir, Percy and I would be glad if you would inform these engines that we only take orders from you. Silence! Snapped the Fat Controller. Percy and Duck, I am pleased with your work today, but not with your behaviour tonight. You have caused a disturbance. Gordon, Henry and James sniggered. As for you, thundered the Fat Controller, you've been worse. You made the disturbance. Duck is quite right. This is my railway and I give the orders. After Percy went away, Duck was left to manage alone. He did so, easily.
The engines on the island of Sodor look forward to Halloween. They love the Fat Controller's fireworks. And the children dressing up as wizards and witches. They also love Edward's spooky stories. They say that on Halloween the ghost engine returns to the smelters looking for his lost woo-woo whistle. Ooh, ah, spooky, the engine said, all shivering a little. Later the Fat Controller arrived. Thomas, Percy and Duck, I have a special job for you, he said. You are to collect some scrap from the smelter's yard tonight, on Halloween. Don't worry, you will be back in time for the fireworks. Percy isn't worried about missing the fireworks, teased Thomas. He's a scaredy engine. I am not, called Percy, but he was, a little. At the smelters, all Percy could think about was Edward's ghost engine. Thomas knew Percy was scared, so he teased him even more. What's that up there? Thomas squeaked. Is it a spook? It's just a piece of twisted scrap, Percy said nervously. Isn't it? Thomas was having fun. He kept on teasing Percy. Careful the ghost engine doesn't get you, Thomas said. There's no such thing as ghost, snapped Percy. Duck felt sorry for Percy. Nobody's brave all the time, said Duck. But I'm not a scaredy engine, Percy insisted. The job was nearly complete. Well done, the yard manager said. Now I'll need one engine to finish up. Duck wanted to pay Thomas back for all his teasing. Please, sir, he said. I'm sure Thomas wouldn't mind staying. Of course not, Thomas boasted. I'm not a scaredy engine. So Duck and Percy left. When Thomas was by himself, every sound and every shadow was spooky. He was beginning to feel very scared. There's no such things as ghosts, he said nervously. Who's there? Thomas was so busy looking for ghosts, he didn't watch where he was going. The chains felt like ghost fingers. Something's got me! Thomas wheeshed and set off an old steam whistle. The ghost whistle, said Thomas, and he raced away as fast as his wheels could carry him. The ghost engine is after me! It was naughty of Thomas to tease you, Percy, said Duck. He was only playing, said Percy. I hope he hurries up. I wouldn't want him to be late for the fireworks. He's after me! I don't think he'll be late, said Duck. Duck and Percy joined the other engines for the fireworks. Where's Thomas? Percy asked. He'll miss all the fun. It would serve him right after all his teasing, Duck said. But Percy was worried. He went to look for his friend. He found Thomas all alone in the shed. Are you all right, Thomas? He said. Yes, I'm sorry I teased you, Percy, Thomas said. Duck was right. We all feel scared sometimes. And we all have to say sorry sometimes, said his friend. So come on, Thomas. We can watch the fireworks just as well from here. And he was right.
It was a special holiday on the island of Sodor. Bertie the bus was working harder than ever before. All the engines were busy too. Duck was waiting for his next journey. Near him stood a red bus, but he didn't look friendly like Bertie. The bus growled as he gazed at the happy passengers. "Stupid nonsense," he grumbled. "I wouldn't have brought them if I'd known. I'd have had a breakdown or something." "I'm glad you didn't," smiled Duck. "You'd have spoiled their fun." "Ah, enjoyment is all you engines live for. One day railways will be ripped up." Duck felt shocked at such an idea. "We have a friend called Bertie, and he's a bus, but he likes the railway. Sometimes he teases us about it, but he'd never want to see it ripped up." "Huh," growled the bus. "I know Bertie. He's too small in size to be of any use." Duck took no notice. "That bus is silly," he thought as he steamed away. At the junction, Duck told Oliver all about him. "I call him Bulgy," chuckled Oliver. Then he puffed happily away. But that afternoon, when the two engines met again, Oliver was no longer laughing. "Bulgy's friend has come," he said. "He's rude too. He's taking Bulgy's passengers home so as to leave Bulgy free to steal ours." "But he can't," objected Duck. "Bulgy says he can get them to the big station before us." "Rubbish," replied Duck. "It's much further by road." "Yes," continued Oliver, "but Bulgy says he knows a shortcut." That evening, the engines were preparing for the homeward rush. "Where are the passengers?" they wondered. "Look!" shrilled Oliver. "Look at Bulgy! He's a mean scarlet deceiver!" Bulgy was wearing a large sign saying "Railway Bus." "Yahoo snubs!" he jeered as he roared away. "Come on," puffed Duck to his coaches. "Let's see what he's up to." Duck wanted to pay Bulgy out, but he wasn't sure how. Then, in the distance, Duck saw a man waving a red flag. That meant danger. The line here crosses a narrow road, and there was Bulgy, wedged firmly under the bridge. "So this was his shortcut," chuckled Duck. "He tricked us," shouted Bulgy's passengers. "He said he was a railway bus, but he wouldn't accept our return tickets. He wanted us to think railways are no good." Duck's crew examined the bridge. "It's risky, but we must help the passengers." "Passengers are urgent," agreed Duck. Duck slowly and carefully set off across the bridge. Bulgy wailed as he felt the bridge quiver. "Stop!" he shouted. "It might fall on me." "That would serve you right for telling lies," said Duck. But the bridge didn't collapse. Duck made good time, and all the passengers caught their trains. The bridge is now mended, but not, unfortunately, Bulgy and his ways. He never learned sense. He's a hen house now, and his lies can do no harm. The hens never listen to them anyway. Every summer, the island of Sodor is very busy.
Holidaymakers love to sightsee, and when the weather is fine, there is no better place to visit. Some people like to go to the mountains, others like the valleys. Children love the seaside. One morning, Thomas was puffing along the line that runs by the coast. His two coaches, Annie and Clarabelle, were packed with children going to the beach. Everyone was happy. Percy was taking some trucks to the harbour. "Hello, Thomas. You look cheerful. I wish I could take children today instead of trucks." "They're the Vicar's Sunday School," explained Thomas. "I'm busy this evening, but the station master says I can ask you to take the children home." "Of course I will," promised Percy. Later, Percy saw Harold. "Sorry, Percy, can't talk. I'm on high alert." "Why?" "Bad weather's due. My help's always needed. Mind how you go, Percy." "Pah, off, Percy. As long as I've got rails to run on, I can go anywhere in any weather anyhow. Goodbye." He set off for the beach. It was a beautiful day, but Edward was worried. "Be careful," he warned. "There's a storm coming." "A promise is a promise," thought Percy, no matter what the weather. The children had a lovely day, but by tea time, dark clouds loomed ahead. Annie and Clarabelle were glad when Percy arrived. He was just in time. Rain streamed down Percy's boiler. Oh, he shivered and thought of his nice dry shed. Percy struggled on past coastal villages and into the countryside. The river was rising fast. I wish I could see, complained Percy, as he battled against the rain. More trouble lay ahead. "Oh," hissed Percy, "the water is sloshing my fire." Percy's driver and fireman had to find some more firewood. "I'll have some of your floorboards, please," said the fireman to the guard. "I only swept the floor this morning," grumbled the guard, but he still helped. Soon, Percy's fire was burning well. He felt warm and comfortable again. Then, he saw Harold. "Oh dear," thought Percy. "Harold's come to laugh at me." Something thudded onto Percy's boiler. "Ow!" exclaimed Percy. "He needn't throw things." "It's a parachute," laughed his driver. "Harold's dropping hot drinks for us." "Thank you, Harold," whistled Percy. "Good to be of service," replied Harold, and he buzzed away. The water lapped Percy's wheels. Percy was losing steam again, but he plunged bravely on. "I promised," he panted. "I promised." He made one more big effort, and at last, exhausted but triumphant, he brought the train home. "Well done, Percy," cheered Thomas. "You kept your promise despite everything." The Fat Controller arrived in Harold. First he thanked the men, then Percy. "Harold told me you were a wizard. He says he can beat you at some things, but not at being a submarine. I don't know what you two get up to sometimes, but I do know that you're a really useful engine." "Oh, sir," whispered Percy happily. Percy was working in the coal mines. He was feeling bored and lonely with only the silly trucks for company. Cheer up, Percy, said his driver. The Fat Controller has told me that we must be here again tomorrow. We've just got to make the best of a bad situation. I'll try, sir, sighed Percy. Next morning, Percy puffed back to the coal mines. When he arrived, the truck started teasing him.
Percy, Percy, green and small, he's no use to us at all. Around the yards he'll puff and blow, but on the hills he's oh so slow. Be quiet!
Then he took the trucks to the coal hopper to be loaded up. Percy still felt glum, but said nothing as he puffed up the steep incline to the yards at the top of the hill. He parked his trucks and then set off back down to the mines. Not even the cheerful sight of Bertie the bus could bring a smile to Percy's face. "What's the matter, Percy?" asked Bertie. "Nothing exciting ever happens, that's the matter," sighed Percy. "It's just coal, 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 and trucks, trucks, trucks. I'm bored, bored, bored." "Excitement is surprising," observed Bertie. "You never know when it'll happen. Otherwise it wouldn't be exciting. Tootle peep." "It would be surprising if something surprising happened," muttered Percy. Later, he stopped by the water tower for a drink. "Hello, Percy, how are things?" asked Toby. "Boring," replied Percy. "Well, why not have a few fast spins on the turntable? You like that," said Toby. "I think I just feel giddy." Percy's driver interrupted. "Stop gossiping, you two. Cheer up, Percy, you'll soon know more about trucks than any other engine. That'll be exciting," called Toby. The trucks were still grumbling, and there was more of them than ever. "You're much too small to pull all of us. We want another engine or we'll be struggling up the hill all night." "All night, all right, you can puff and blow, but on that hill you're still too slow." Slow yourself," stuttered Percy. "Temper, temper," giggled the truck. Percy decided just to carry on. "Go to it, Percy," shouted the driver as they started to climb the hill. The trucks were still joking. "Too slow, more power, here all night, tomorrow too." "Be quiet," said Percy angrily. Then there was trouble. A coupling broke. "Surprise, surprise, catch us if you can." "Oh, no!" cried Percy. Percy's driver told the signalman, and the yard foreman told the Fat Controller what was happening. "They're heading for the big hill. It'll slow them down, but they may roll back again, right into the village," said the foreman. "Then we'll just have to stop them, won't we?" said Sir Topham Hatt firmly. The chase was on. As they approached the hill, they overtook the trucks. The Fat Controller and Bertie screeched to a halt and waited for them near the top. The hill slowed the trucks right down to a standstill. Then the men quickly put wooden blocks behind their wheels so they couldn't roll backwards. The trucks were now secured. Just then, Percy arrived. "Well, what did you think of that?" joked Bertie. "A good chase is always exciting." "It certainly was a surprise," decided Percy. "And you were right, Bertie. A really useful engine should never be surprised by surprise."
The Great Western engine puffed sadly to Edward Station. "It's not fair," he complained. Diesel has been telling lies about me and made the Fat Controller and all the engines think I'm horrid. Edward smiled. I know you aren't, and so does the Fat Controller. You wait and see. Why don't you help me with these trucks? Duck felt happier with Edward and set to work at once. The trucks were silly, heavy and noisy. The two engines had to work hard, pushing and pulling all afternoon. At last they reached the top of the hill. Goodbye, whistled Duck, and rolled gently over the crossing to the other line. Duck loved coasting down the hill, running easily with the wind whistling past. Suddenly, it was a guard's warning whistle. Hurrah, 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 laughed the trucks. We've broken away, we've broken away. Chase him, bump him, throw him off the rails, they yelled. Hurry, Duck, hurry, said the driver. They raced through Edward's station, but the trucks were catching up. As fast as we can, then they'll catch us back. The driver was gaining control. Another clear mile and we'll do it. Oh, glory, look at that. James was just pulling out on their line from the station ahead. Any minute there could be a crash. It's up to you now, Duck, cried the driver. Duck put every ounce of weight and steam against the trucks. It's too late, Duck groaned and shut his eyes. He veered into a siding where a barber had set up shop. He was shaving a customer. The silly trucks had knocked their guard off his van and left him far behind after he had whistled a warning. But the trucks didn't care. They were feeling very pleased with themselves. Beg pardon, sir, gasped Duck. Excuse my intrusion. No, I won't, said the barber. You frighten my customers. I'll teach you. And he lathered Duck's face all over. Poor Duck. Thomas was helping to pull the trucks away when the Fat Controller arrived. I do not like engines popping through my walls, fumed the barber. I appreciate your feelings, said the Fat Controller, but you must know that this engine and his crew have prevented a serious accident. It was a very close, shave. Oh, said the barber. Oh, excuse me. He filled a basin of water to wash Duck's face. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were being a brave engine. That's all right, sir. I didn't know that either. You were very brave indeed, said the Fat Controller. I'm proud of you. The Fat Controller watched the rescue operation. Then he had more news for Duck. And when you are properly washed and mended, you are coming home. Home, sir? Do you mean the yard? Of course. But, sir, they don't like me. They like Diesel. Not now. I never believed Diesel, so I sent him packing. The engines are sorry and want you back. Days later, when he came home, there was a really rousing welcome for Duck the Great Western Engine.
At harvest time, the air is filled with the smell of fresh fruit and vegetables. The engines happily deliver their loads to market. One day, mist and rain swirled down Toby's line. Percy was delivering a load of fresh tomatoes. Suddenly, he felt a big bump. "Bust my buffers!" Percy cried. "What was that?" The guard put out the warning flags while Percy's driver inspected the tracks. "The earth's crumbling," he said. "We must tell the Fat Controller," decided Percy. Percy puffed back as fast as he could. "I've got important news. The tracks on Toby's line are wobbly." "Huh," huffed Gordon. "Old and wobbly, just like Toby. That's not news. Can't stop to listen to your silly chatter." "Gordon never listens to me," muttered Percy. Next, he spoke to the Fat Controller. "Sir, sir." "Not now, Percy. Thomas, you are to collect the prize bull. He's at the farm on Toby's line." "But those tracks are wobbly," cried Percy. "They are safe enough," said the Fat Controller. "Bye, Percy." "Nobody ever listens to me." Thomas was carefully chuffing through the rain. Soon he had collected the farmer's bull and was on his way back. The rain had made the tracks more wobbly than ever. Suddenly, there was a deep rumbling sound. Thomas's driver applied the brakes, but it was too late. "Cinders and ashes!" cried Thomas. "We're stuck!" And they were. Late that night, Thomas still hadn't returned. Percy was worried. "Thomas is in trouble," he said. Gordon and James took no notice. "Worry wheels," huffed Gordon. "Fussy funnel," said James. "Please," Percy asked his driver, "can we find Thomas?" "Right away," said his driver. Percy was nervous, but his lamp shone brightly in the dark. The tracks creaked and wobbled, but Percy pressed on. "Percy!" cried Thomas. Thomas was very happy to see his friend. "I'll have you out in no time," said Percy. Percy puffed and pulled and pulled and puffed. And finally, Thomas and his driver were free. "Oh, thank you," said Thomas. "I'm glad to be useful," smiled Percy. It was dawn before the track was cleared. Then Percy and Thomas made their way back home. "Thomas is here," whistled Percy. "Percy saved the day," said Thomas. Agreed the bull. "I'm sorry, Percy," said the Fat Controller. "We must do a better job of listening to you in future." Percy was pleased.
What's that moving in the corner? What's that shadow on the wall?
Don't be afraid, don't be scared, it really is nothing at all.
But I saw something in the corner. I saw that shadow on the wall.
It's just your imagination.
Look, it's just the wise old owl.
Choo choo, don't be afraid of the dark. It's easily explained, you see why things go bump in the night. Boo, boo, boo.
Choo
Really nothing's changed, it's just the same. Just daylight turned to night.
But something moved in the corner. A shadow crossed the wall.
He closed his eyes, counted 10,
And remembered the wise old owl.
boo, boo, choo choo. Don't be afraid of the dark. When the lights go out and you have your doubts, why things go bump in the night. Boo, 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 choo choo. Don't wander from your mark. And don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of the dark. So don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of the dark. Boo, boo, choo choo. Don't be afraid of the dark. It's easily explained. You see why things go bump in the night. Boo, 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 choo choo. Don't wander from your track. And don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of the dark.
What's that moving in the corner? What's that shadow on the wall?
Don't be afraid, don't be scared. It really is nothing at all.
But I saw something in the corner. A shadow crossed the wall.
It's just your imagination.
Look, it's just the wise old owl.
Boo, boo, choo choo. Don't be afraid of the dark. It's easily explained. You see why things go bump in the night. Boo, 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 choo choo.